With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Just calm down, folks. Just calm down. And coming to you live from San Antonio, Texas, up here, and Port Aransas, Texas, down here, the Best Boys Center Ice podcast is literally on the road for Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Yeah, Carson is doing a little beaching down in Port Aransas.
But we didn't miss the game. We watched the game here. That was the top priority of the day. We knew the game was on. Before we kind of get into that of Game 5 of the Cup Finals, again, thanks to all of our supporters, Refocus Radio Network that puts our show on the revolving radio network that they have. Features so many great shows such as Rudy Campos Jr.'s Sweep the League podcast, talking about all the other sports going on besides hockey. So NBA Finals going on right now. MLB season's in full swing. NFL draft happened a little while ago and season's up and coming soon. So plenty of great stuff going on there with Rudy, and then obviously great other shows on that network that aren't related to sports. You can also find, again, the show we always talk about, the I Am Refocused Radio with Shemai Reed, who he has plenty of interesting guests on his show from various different points of view, various different topics, various different, expertise areas. So it's very great entertainment, and we're glad to be a part of that revolving radio network.
Yeah, and we're just so happy. You can get our YouTube channel there, and you can go and look at all of the past shows that we've done, all the wrap-up shows that we've done, all of the previous podcasts that we've done all year. It's all on there. So check it out. It's the Best Boys Center Ice podcast on YouTube on the Refocus Radio Network. All right. So Game 5.
Should I start this one?
Yeah. Why don't you start this one? Game 5. The Stanley Cup Finals, Edmonton and Florida. And it was, well, you're going to hear about it here in a bit. But Carson, just take it away with your thoughts on Game 5.
So Game 5. Okay. Edmonton, pulled it off in Game 4. What a great comeback, being down 3-0 after the first. Looked dead in the water, and then they somehow just got it together. Big thing came out of that with Corey Perry's speech. I'm going to try to get that light out of the way in the back. But Corey Perry's speech that he gave to the team motivated them, and they came back. Florida, like fashion, tied the game late up. And then Leon Draisaitl ended it on the garbage kind of goal. But you know what? That's how it goes. And we were going to Game 5. I was expecting Edmonton to win, actually, going back home. Obviously that's the difference from last year to this year, is that Florida had home ice last year. Now Edmonton has home ice this year. And we got a pretty different game from all the other ones. There weren't a lot of shots. It wasn't focused on that. Not as many penalties, obviously. But Florida made it look like an easy game, and they beat Edmonton tonight 5-2. So the key player in this game for sure is Marchand. Brad Marchand starts the scoring off on a really actually bad defensive play by the Oilers there, because it was center ice face-off, and he kind of got the start right as soon as the puck dropped, and he took the puck, went 1-on-3 in the zone and swept it around and beat Pick over the glove side. Was a great place shot there. And then I figured, okay, Edmonton's going to bounce back, and they really didn't. And then Sam Bennett scored later on his 15th goal of the playoffs, 13th on the road, and gives Florida a 2-0 lead. We go to the second period, and not much of anything really happens there. Edmonton did get more shots than Florida. Florida didn't have a shot for the first 10 or 11 minutes, but it didn't matter as Bob was shutting the door. Then we go to the third, and on a sweet, beautiful goal, another 1-on-3 play, Brad Marchand beats the Oilers again, and it's 3-0. McDavid finally gets his first of the finals and puts the Oilers on the board 3-1. And and then not Lusterinen, it was
Reinhardt.
Sorry, thank you. Reinhardt, he scored on that assist from Barkov off a pretty bad defensive forecheck, if you want to call it, from the Oilers. They really kind of just gave it to him 4-1. And then Corey Perry on a slap shot from the top of the point. The empty net, or the extra attacker, I should say, makes it 4-2. But then Ucha Lusterinen scores, makes it 5-2. Before I get into my analysis, lighting's a bit bad for me. I'm at the beach, like Dad said, so not much really going on as I'm sitting outside on the dock. But anyways, okay. So my thoughts on this game, I've already mentioned to you last show. I think that Florida's been the better team. I think they look better than the Oilers from lines 1 through 4, pairs 1 through 3. Goaltending has been better for the Panthers. They have more scoring depth. You have tonight, 3 of their 5 goals came from the bottom 6. I know Lustarinen's empty netter, but a goal's a goal, and Brad Marchand had 2 goals, and he's a third liner. The Oilers, that's not happening for them. It's only their top line or top 2 lines that are scoring. No one else is really contributing, and that's going to be a big problem. The Panthers just look better. You can just tell 5-on-5 they have the advantage, like they said in the broadcast, and I think it's true. 5-on-5 they have the advantage. They're able to wear the Oilers down and really just play their game the way they want. And they didn't look like they were in a panic. They didn't get into all the rough stuff tonight. They just played their game and frustrated the Oilers, where if they shut McDavid's entries down, the Oilers were done for. Yeah, I do still think after this that the Oilers team last year is better than this year's team. I think the bottom 6 is just not existent at all.
Mm-hmm.
They just they seem behind. They seem out of position. Florida just had them beat every time. Oilers, I think, were trying to stretch the puck out too many times, and that's the reason the Panthers are getting so many good chances, was because the defense wasn't quick enough to the line to defend it. That's a big problem against a team like Florida, who can punish you pretty quick. Yeah, this is not good if you're the Oilers. Like I've said, this series has a lot more implications, I think, than people realize. As an outside fan, I don't pay attention to this team. I do pay attention to it, but not as much as like the Penguins. But for the Oilers, this series means a lot, because if they lose, watching this series, can McDavid really think that he has a shot with the team there? Because no one's showing up besides him and Draisaitl and a select few guys that look like they're just ready to go. There's a lot in the line, and the Oilers just looked a step behind the whole time from puck drop to the end of the game. And I think it's a bad place to be if the Oilers lose again. And you have to remember Draisaitl's big contract he just signed. McDavid's going to get even more than him, no matter where he goes, because he's worth it. He's the best player in the league, and now the salary cap's going up. So the big thing that's going to influence this is Mitch Marner's deal, what he gets. But I think there could be trouble brewing in Edmonton should they lose again, because just in my opinion, as a hockey fan, they just look not as sharp as last year. I talked about certain guys like Ryan McLeod and Dylan Holloway the other day. Even Matthias Janmark seemed to be on the board a lot. I just feel like that's not there at all. This series, like, it's just disappeared, and that was their bread and butter in getting through Dallas and Vegas, and it's just gone. Like, they look like a different team than they were those series, and Florida just seems to have the upper hand every step of the way. I mean, power play's been lethal for them. Penalty killing, they've been a good penalty killing team. Bob's been Bob. Money when he needs to be. Looked a bit shaky at the beginning, but he stood tall when he had to. I think they're really in trouble. I think, this is different than last year. Obviously this is a must win. The next 2 are must wins. But I think watching these last couple of games, I just don't have a good feeling about it for them, because the bottom 6 hasn't shown up. And if they can, they've got a real shot. But if they don't, I think Florida wears them down, and this series is done if they can't show up. That's what I think. But obviously, we're going to see the best out of McDavid, the best out of Draisaitl. They're going to be playing a lot of the time. But for the 30, maybe 20 or 35 odd minutes that they're not playing, what are the other guys going to do? Are they going to play, or are they just going to kind of dump and chase and play defense? Because if they do that, Florida's going to eat them alive. So an ugly game for the Oilers. In a different way, this is a bad game like Game 3 was, because they literally were not the better team at all at any point in this game. And I'm just worried about that for them. I just think more about McDavid, honestly, at this point, is what I think about that could seem like that could be a possibility that he goes elsewhere, but you never know. But that's my thoughts. Bad game, horrible loss. Now you have to play on the road in a barn where the Panthers want to raise the cup up in front of their fans because they didn't. They got to do it last year. They remember the thrill, and they want to do it again. They don't want to have to go back to Edmonton. But that's my thoughts. Oilers played bad. They deserve to lose. The Panthers deserve to win. Oilers played like they were just trying not to lose the game instead of going out and seizing the opportunity, whereas the Panthers were going out and seizing the opportunity, and they took the game.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you 100%. It looked like the Oilers, right from the start, were just a step slower. They were losing the 50-50 Bucks. Florida just looked like they had the legs all game, even though they were in the same situation. There was only one day between, the games, and it was a travel day yesterday. So, I look at it two ways. I look at it as a podcaster and saying, well, the Florida Panthers look like they're just rolling, and I don't know who could stop them. And yeah, you're right. If the Oilers' bottom six don't come through tomorrow or Tuesday night in Game 6, they're going to raise the cup again, and in Florida. And what happens? You're right. I worry about it too. As a Oiler fan, I worry about McDavid. He's got the 1 year left that he's, next season would be his last season of his contract. Everybody thought that when Draisaitl signed that big deal, and it was like an 8-year deal that starts this coming
year, about $14 million.
That would secure, and I still believe that that's going to play a big part in McDavid's decision. But as an Oiler fan, you don't ever give up hope. Last year, you go back to the Oilers were down.
You had plenty of reasons too. Yeah, down 3-0. Yeah,
down 3-0 and came all the way back. Almost did it. The Oilers going into Florida, they've already won in Florida. So that's something to look into.
But then the other way, if they go back to Edmonton, Florida's won there twice.
Yeah.
So it's like there's no advantage there for them, honestly.
Well, I think if you get to a Game 7 for the Edmonton Oilers, if you get to a Game 7, which you have to do now, you got to get to Game 7 because the Cup's going to be in the building on Tuesday night in Florida. You got to get to a Game 7. I think in Game 7, if you don't lay everything out on the line and
you're going to lose.
Florida did last year in Game 7 at home, then they're going to raise the trophy in Edmonton's barn.
No.
I'm still very confident. I'm not sure goaltending wise.
I was going to ask you that. Who do you go with at this point?
I thought about it, and I heard what the guys on TNT down here in the States said.
I think you go Stu. I think you go to Stu.
I think you go to Stu because he's come back very strong after being pulled and being,
And he's played. Think about it. Stu's played all. It sucks. Okay. It sucks that it went down the way it did with Pickard, right? Because you don't want to see a guy get hurt, and he was on a roll. He was 6-0, but he got hurt. But then Stu's been playing all the games for the last almost month. And then finally, and you know what? Pickard maybe didn't have the best game because he definitely got beat a little bit when he shouldn't have. Mm-hmm. But he hasn't played in a long time, and he's feeling the puck, and that's got to be a lot of pressure on a guy who's never been that number one goalie, that he's getting thrown into the Cup final when it's on the line, and he's getting thrown into it, and he's doing what he can. But I think you go back to Stu because he's got the reps, but he has a very short leash. Again, if you go in the first period and he lets 2, that's it. Because you can't let this game implode because Florida's going to be at home. They're going to have the momentum. They're a team that can put the puck. And another theme the Oilers got to get out of is allowing Florida these multiple goal leads. I know that they've blown them a couple of times, but they're up 3-2, and they're not gonna. They've learned from their mistakes. This would be a team, like I said the other day. If Florida won Game 4 in overtime, that would be very hard for the Oilers to win 3 games in a row against them because they remember last year, and as much as they won the Cup and they were happy and they got it done, they still have that in their minds, like, let's not do this again because we know these guys can beat us at any time, but we got to beat them first. Mm-hmm. And this is going to be even these next 2 games are going to be very grueling for Edmonton to win them. They just looked flat. They looked behind the whole time. And despite the travel, both teams had the same kind of experience with that. Edmonton should have the upper hand because they're at home, but they didn't play like that. They just played soft. They played tight. They just
Yeah.
played
They
like
played
they
tight.
didn't. They did played like they didn't want to lose the game instead of just
Right.
winning it, and that's the difference there. But yeah, I think you go back to Stu. You know, I can't help but not think about McDavid. Honestly, I mean, he's been at Edmonton. It'll be 10 years, 10 or 11 years already at this point that
Mhm.
he's been there, and to have not won anything. Now, what I've been thinking about you since this game ended, or kind of started going bad, and I admittedly texted you in the third period, this game's done because the Oilers
Yeah.
just looked flat. Um, they're following the same trajectory the Penguins had in 2009 when Sid lost the cup that first season. They went and played Detroit 2009, and Detroit pretty handily beat them games 1 and 2. The Penguins came back and beat them in 3-4 just for the Red Wings to go back home and beat them with 6-0, I believe it was, in game 5. Penguins had their backs against the wall, but they were going home in this case, and they won game 6 to force game 7 in Detroit and won game 7. The Oilers are kind of on that same trajectory here. You know, they lost last year to Florida. They're on the ropes now. They can't lose anymore to win the Stanley Cup. So, are they going to be able to, like McDavid said last year, dig in, or are they going to play sheepish like they did and be scared of
They better
what's
not play sheepish. They
because if they
better.
do,
They
Florida.
do.
I mean, Florida's won the championship, but as a competitor, you can't win enough. You want to win more. And Florida wants it. They want it bad, and they've proven why they deserve it. You know, because they've played really well. And I'm just worried 5-on-5 for the Oilers. They got to get that together. Bottom six has got to step up, and whatever it takes, lay all you got. Even if you're not getting any offensive opportunities, but you're shutting their guys down on the third and fourth lines, that's perfect.
Mhm.
You're doing your job because top two or the top six are very even for both these teams, and I think McDavid's going to be able to do something with that. But you just wonder like what'll change for the Oilers if they don't. Now, looking at it, if they lose again, you know, I think a big piece to blame is the goaltending. They don't have that top tier goaltender, which they for whatever reason ignored. They ignored
Yeah.
that this year that they needed that, and it's proven costly. I mean, they've allowed so many goals. Stu's been pulled. Their so-called number one goaltender has been pulled 4 times in the playoffs already,
Mhm.
and both times were back-to-back games. Uh, I just, I think that's just going to be the pain point for the fan base. Is that's the big difference. If the Panthers, or if the Oilers have the goaltending that the Panthers have gotten with Bob and that top tier goaltender, which he is, this is a
Mhm.
different story. But
Yeah.
because they don't, the Panthers are able to take advantage of that, and I think that's just a big sore spot for the Oilers. And I think that's something you go after this offseason. But that's just going to be the big thing this summer is McDavid. I mean, really, because he definitely has the choice, and the Oilers have to respect the choice if he wants to go,
Yeah.
because he wants to win a Stanley Cup, and I really feel like as much as the group is tight, I get it, but he's got to be watching that, being like, these guys, what are they like? The bottom six isn't even there, so it's up to him. If he's playing bad, the Oilers don't win.
Yeah.
And that's at least the way it's been going this series. If he's playing bad, the Oilers aren't winning. And if he's playing good, they have a good probability they're going to win. And when he's getting shut off, it's done. They don't have a chance because it's all in the hands of him and Draisaitl, which is unfortunate. But I think it's very true at this time that
Mhm.
that's been a big problem for them this series. His bottom six is just not good
Yeah.
right now.
Well, it's do or die
Yeah.
Tuesday night
And
for the
Stetcher,
Oilers.
I think you put Klingberg back. I'm sorry.
You got to put Klingberg back. I don't
You
know
got
why
to put
he's out. You got to put
you got to
Klingberg
put
back in.
Klingberg back, and you know, I still think you may roll the dice with Jeff Skinner, maybe putting Kasperi Kapanen back in.
Mhm.
I still think the same thing about Evander Kane. He has been pretty non-existent, other than his
Yeah.
penalties. Is that something you do to shake? I mean, to shake it up.
We got to do something. You got to do something to
Yeah,
get to Game 7. Right now, it's all about getting to Game 7.
yeah,
You have to get there, or
yeah.
else
Don't
this
even be looking at that now.
right.
You got to win. Yeah,
You've got to do whatever you
yeah,
can, make lineup changes.
yeah.
And
The,
if it's Kane that sits, and I think Cavan's got to go back in somewhere along. He's got to be back on there.
yeah. I mean, the good thing is they get the extra day, so they get
Yeah.
the time to. I still think in that room you keep the vibes high because you're not out yet.
No, it's
Obviously,
not,
they know they have to win, but you keep the vibes high because if you at any point doubt yourself or that you're going to lose, you're going
you
to, and
have
it's not
to
going to be good.
you have to take it shift at a game 6. You got to take it shift by shift,
Yep.
period by period, and just go from there. Like you said, don't give up. Don't give 2-3 goal leads. Play close, and then just you
Win the
have to
game.
lay it all on the line and win game 6, and then worry about game 7. But right now, you got to do what you got to do. If Stu goes back in, Stu goes back in.
Yep.
Klingberg's got to play. I think Gaspin got to play. You just have to get that energy somehow, and by making the changes with some players sitting out,
it gives you a jolt. Like, okay, like they're
give you a
serious.
jolt. Yeah. So we'll see. It's fourth game, as we said before, is always the hardest one to win.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens in Sunrise, Florida on Tuesday night. I believe that's another 7:00 start Central Time.
Yeah. So we'll be on probably half an hour after, but of course, if Florida wins, it'll be a bit wild probably after the game.
Yeah,
but if the Oilers win, it'll probably be 30 minutes.
Yeah. So just if you're an Oilers fan, you just got to sit there, root for the team, because you don't give up on a team when they're, you don't give up on your team.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Are you still embarrassed to be an Oiler fan?
No, never. I'm never.
Wait. You said that out. You said that after game 3.
I said I was disappointed after game 3 of the Edmonton Oilers. I've never seen a team, an Edmonton Oilers. I was disappointed, not embarrassed. So let's, like you got to stick with this team. If you're an Oilers fan, you can't be just giving up right now. Well, what? They're going back to Florida for game 6. Florida's going to win the Stanley Cup. You can't think like that. You have to think it's a hockey game. It's 60 minutes. They could go into Florida and just take it over. However they do, they win it, and then go back and worry about game 7 when that comes around. But game 6, Tuesday night, is all that matters.
Yep. Game 6.
In that locker room for the city of Edmonton, the province of Alberta, the country of Canada, all that matters is game 6. And you just lay it all on the line, and you see what happens after the buzzer goes after 60 or plus. So I'm still very confident.
Yep.
I may have to don one of my jerseys just as the.
I think so.
Kind of like
something.
Like
do something.
That's what I did after game 2 of the LA series. I wore my Nugent Hopkins jersey, and it worked. So we'll see. Carson, I hope you have a great time down there. You guys coming home tomorrow?
Yep, tomorrow night.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're getting a little break down there.
Yeah.
We will again be on the air, depending on what happens, either a half hour after or a little bit later if they're going to present the cup, because that's something we both like to watch. It's been just a great time doing all this. We hope you enjoy it, and I'm hoping there's still a couple more days left in this. But Carson, thanks for joining us and doing this remotely from his phone, doing all the graphic stuff from his phone. And again, check us out, Best Boy Center Ice Podcast on YouTube on the Refocus Radio Network. I might hold off on my TikTok until tomorrow. But it's just this is the best time of the year. Everybody's got their eyes focused on the NHL, which is always great. And we just love this, and it's going to be we're going to be sad when this whole thing ends, because it's going to be like we got to wait 4 or 5 months until we get going again. But all right, Cara, have a safe trip back. We'll talk to you when you get back.
All right.
And everybody, in the meantime and in between time, everybody have a great hockey night.